Hello everyone, I'm creating this video in hopes of helping you get ready for today's class. So before we get started, I wanted to review some of the things that we talked about in the last class. The first thing I want to talk about is the word backlash. Remember, we talked about this in terms of, it's a strong negative reaction to social or political changes. There was all these changes because of radical Reconstruction, the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, and the Civil Rights Acts. So many people were happy about it. There were so many gains made. However, there were also a strong, group in our society that were, really upset about it. And so they're going to have some sort of backlash towards these laws. So for my example, I put the radical Reconstruction laws caused a backlash since they were very unpopular to many people, as you can see. Okay, we were looking at in the last class to start, the creation of the KKK. What is the KKK, for example? That was the question that we were exploring. So we saw a couple things in the video. We saw that there were a white supremacist group founded after the Civil War. They were mainly founded by veterans of the Confederacy. And we heard about this guy named Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was considered the first Grand Wizard, or like the first major leader of this group. And what was their goals? Remember, their goal was to restore superiority or power to whites in American society by keeping African Americans as second-class citizens and removing Republicans and Northerners from power positions in the South. They want to restore the South to what they would think is their former glory, like back to the good old days in a sense, right? So how do they do this? How do they plan on, restoring power to whites in American society? How do they plan on removing Republicans and, keeping African Americans as second-class citizens? How are they going to do that? Well, they're going to use violence. Okay, they're going to use their secrecy to obtain their goals. We talked about this in the sense of terrorism, using violence to get a political goal. That is the definition of terrorism. So this group is a terroristic group. Okay, so the majority of the violence is going to occur in the Reconstruction South, which is what we've been, studying for the past few weeks. Okay, one thing that you probably learned in the last class from our final reading was that many of the KKK members were high-ranking people in society. They were your doctors, lawyers, politicians, teachers. Yes, they were poor individuals there as well, but it really mirrored the society. There were people from all ranks of society in the KKK. It wasn't just, people who were uneducated or poor. There were people who were well off as well. Okay? So what are we doing today? What are you guys going to do today? Okay? Let me unhighlight some of this information here. You can kind of see where we're going to go. Okay, so what are we doing today? Today we're answering the why. Why do they exist? Why was the KKK created? Why did the violence happen? Why did the violence seem acceptable by many Americans at the time? This is our central question for today, the why. We did the what, now we need to know why. Okay? So we're going to do this by doing something called the iceberg diagram. Okay? Events can be analyzed by using an iceberg strategy. Okay, so if we think of an iceberg, and I'm going to actually go to the workspace. So if you go to the workspace and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see analyzing Ku Klux Klan violence. You open up the document and it'll look like this. You'll see a picture of an iceberg. Okay, well, what's an iceberg? If you've seen pictures, this is what basically an iceberg is. An iceberg, you see the top of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg. Then when you scroll down a little bit, excuse me, you guys see the bottom of the iceberg. Right? So the tip of the iceberg is what you can see. The bottom of the iceberg is the foundation. What we really don't see. We know it's there, but it's unseen. Okay, so how is this going to help us? So going back to the notes. The tip of the iceberg is what the person can see of the iceberg, right? Well, that represents the facts of the events, right? Or the facts of this group that we are looking at, the KKK, right? What are the facts? So going back to this chart, what you're first going to do before you even get into any of the readings, you're going to list all the facts that you know about the KKK violence. What happened? Who was involved? Who was affected by the violence, and where did it happen? Okay, so use your facts. If you don't remember, some of these notes up here can help you. Okay, so use this information to help you out. Okay, that's the very first thing you're going to do. Okay, now when we get to the bottom of the iceberg, this is where it gets interesting. This is where the analysis is going to happen. You know, when we say we're analyzing the KKK, this is where we're doing it. Okay, the bottom of the iceberg is what we cannot see. It's beneath the surface. This represents the why of the event. This is where we get to our actual analysis of the KKK. Okay, so with that said, this is your task for today. What are you doing? Okay, as you read the 3 documents at the top of the analysis document, answer the questions: why did KKK violence happen, and why did it seem acceptable by many Americans during the mid-1800s? So if you look here, going back, okay, so first you're going to fill out this section. It's a drawing, so if you double click, it'll take you to the drawing. Okay, you double click up here. This is where you'll start to put your information. Your information can be put into bullet points. It probably should, since there's not a lot of space. Okay, put your information into bullet points. Okay, once you fill that out, then you're going to use the readings to answer this question: why did KKK violence happen, and why did it seem acceptable by many Americans? Okay, we have 3 readings: the core of ordinary men, collaborators and bystanders, the range of human behavior. You'll read each document, which remember they're located up here. Okay, you open them up, you'll read the documents. They're pretty short reads, but they're kind of, some of them may be a little difficult. You may have to read them more than once. That's okay. You're going to have plenty of time. Okay, read them. Really think about what's being said in the readings. Okay, and in this drawing, you double click, you're going to place your information at the bottom, right below. Okay, you can add bullet points. You can put your information, type it out. Okay, you want to think about why. That's the important question today. Why did this violence happen? These 3 documents will explain that. Okay, why this violence is happening. Okay, so going back to the notes, you must take notes from all 3 readings. You have to do all 3 readings. Okay, you must use bullet points since there isn't enough much space. Okay, so make sure you're using bullet points. It must be in your words. I know it doesn't say it there, but you must. You have to use your own words. Do not use text evidence. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I'm going to type it in right now. Use. Okay, I'm typing with one hand, so bear with me. Use your own words. There you go. Don't laugh at me. All right. Last bullet point. After you fill out the iceberg. So once you filled out the iceberg and that they are completely done, you've read all 3 documents, you filled out the iceberg. Now you scroll down. There are your final 3 questions right here. Okay. Answer these questions below. You must have at least 3 sentences for each. Okay. Of the causes listed in the bottom part of the iceberg, which one of the 1 or 2 do you think were the most impactful? Okay, so you're going to get the causes of the violence as you read this. Okay, you're going to get multiple causes. It's not 1 or 2 or 3 things. You're going to get multiple causes. Okay, of all those causes, which ones were the most important? And you tell me why you think those were the most important. Okay, this next piece is an opinion. What could have been done to prevent the rise of the violence, if anything? If you don't think nothing could have been done, if you think that it was going to happen no matter what, then explain why you believe that. Okay, but if you think something could have been done, give your opinion and explain why. Okay, and finally, how can citizens in a democratic society respond to violence and overcome the effects of terror? What power do bystanders and upstanders have in this response? So, meaning this, the first question. What can citizens do in a democratic society? We, in America, we are a democratic society. What can we do to respond to violence whenever we see it happen? Because we want to stop this terror. What can we do as American citizens to stop this violence and overcome terror? The second question. What power do bystanders and upstanders have in this response? Okay, so that, going back to the first question. What can we do in our society to stop this violence, to overcome the effects of terror? What is the role of bystanders? Bystanders are people that see the events, see the violence, but don't do anything to help or to stop it. Upstanders are the opposite. They see something happen, they see the violence, but they try to fix it. They try to make it work. Okay? They try to right the wrong, in a sense. Okay? All right, so bystanders, people who see something but don't do anything to help. Upstanders, what do they do? Okay, what is their role? They're the ones who help. Okay? What is their power in this response? Okay? Try your best. This is a very sensitive topic. It's a very difficult topic to talk about, but it's very, very, very important. Okay? Start with the basics, with the what. What's the KKK? What happened? Who's involved? Answer these questions. Read these 3 documents. It'll tell you why the violence is occurring. Okay? Make sure you give bullet points for each read. And then answer these questions below using 3 sentences per question. Okay? Like I said, try your best. The notes will be posted. These notes that I just showed you here will be posted. They are right here if you need help. Okay? Open the notes. They will be there for you. Also, you can check out the video again if you need help. Okay? If you do not finish, you have to finish it for homework, as always. Okay? Good luck and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.